What'd you say? Oh, you got baby chicks? Well, why didn't you say so? You don't know how to raise them? Let's go. Let me show you. Okay, so you got your baby chicks. Yay! Now you need to know how to take care of them. Okay, so here we go. Let's go over this real quick. So the first thing that you need, a place to keep them. This is called a brooder. Now, a brooder does not mean that it has to be a plastic bin. It can be a, I've seen people use wire dog crates that have cardboard around the side. I've seen them use swimming pools, wooden boxes. I mean, as long as it can contain your chicks and it can hold in heat, that's what you need. But this is what I use. So this is a brooder. This one here is 90 quarts. It's not really that big, but it provides enough space so that when you put your heat lamp on, the heat is going directly down on one side, and then the other side, if it's too hot, they can get away from the heat. That's very important because you could either freeze them or you could bake them, and you don't want to do either one because I'm sure that you got your chicks because you want to keep them. Okay, so we need to feed them. Okay, so this is a feeder. Very simple. You fill up this side and then it comes down here and they eat here. If you don't have this part, I don't use this part, but you will have to be mindful because little chicks will get in here, and then when the food gets low, they try to get out of here and will get stuck. Be mindful of that. As far as your waterer goes, I use these. These are the ones that I use. Now, what I also do is I take an extra bottom and I put it down on the bottom and I raise it up. That way, when they come to get the water, they don't just come in. I have had that problem before. So I always raise it up, and it also will limit the amount of shavings that you get in your water. You don't want them to be eating and drinking poop all the time. You can also use one of these waterers. Very simple. You know, you would do this and then fill it up. I don't like these waterers, but it's an option. Okay, so you got your brooder, you got your feeder, you got your waterer. You're going to raise up your waterer. Let's move over here. Shavings. You got to have shavings. Okay, a lot of people use different kinds of bedding, but we use the shavings. I get mine from Tractor Supply. So the thing is, you don't want your shavings to be really big. You see, I mean really small, sorry. You see how big they are? They're big. They're actually meant for like horse stalls and stuff. But the bigger the shavings, I'm making a big mess here. It's all over the floor. Now you want to be careful about what you, just because somebody says that it's meant for chicks, does not mean that it's the best thing for chicks. Now you can use it. Yes, you can. And I'm not saying don't, but make sure. The problem with the smaller shavings is the dust that it creates. The dust, the animals are going nuts, but the dust will cause a respiratory infection, which is a whole nother problem. So we stick with these. They're in the white bag. They also have a yellow bag. That's a smaller shaving. And it does have a lot of dust. So go ahead and get your premium pine shavings. Do not use cedar. Cedar's no good for them. Okay, so we got our brooder, we got our feeder, we got our waterer, and we got our shavings. Let's move on to heat. So let's go over our heating options. Now, you can go with a heat lamp. Now, this is just your regular shop lamp. This one says it has a maximum of 160 watts. For me, that's okay. You may need a bigger one. It really depends on the bulb that you're going to use. Here, I do my brooder inside my house. So I have the 150 watt bulbs. These are the no light ones, so there's no light. It does not disturb their sleep. I feel that they're more sturdy if you were to put this one in your hand versus the other one. I feel like this one is a lot less likely to break and cause a fire. Even if it did come loose and fall, I've actually dropped these on the floor, unintentionally, of course, and they have not broke. I'm not saying that they can't, but less likely. Okay, so you've got your heat lamp and your bulb. This is 150 watt. If you need it to be warmer, let's say maybe you have your chicks in a brooder outside or on your porch or someplace that isn't as heated as the inside of your house would be, then the 250. This is a 250 watt bulb. This particular light will not support this one. Now I do have lights that will, but always there's a, you see this? There's always a label on your lights that will tell you what wattage your light can hold. Don't put a 250 bulb in a lamp that won't support it. That's a recipe for disaster. Okay. Now with these, I will tell you that they do sometimes come loose. I don't know why they do that, but they do, and you'll want to make sure that you check these, turn them off, of course, let them cool down, and make sure that they are in there tight, because they do come loose and can fall. And if they do fall, they're very thin and they will break. Okay, so that is the heat lamp. Now you also have the brooder plate. So with the brooder plate, it should get plenty warm enough. Of course, it has a plug. The actual, this is only a 22 watt. So I've been trying to switch over to these. It's just, you know, when you're used to something and something becomes a habit, it's kind of hard to break it sometimes. And I just love the heat lamps. But I do have a lot of these because I'm working on transitioning. So these adjust. You got your little tabs here, and you can adjust them like that. Well, not quite like that, but there. To the height that you want. So you want it for baby chicks, you want it to be super low, of course. So it's going to be like going underneath mama. All right. Now, if you do go with this, I suggest that you get the one with the plate, because they will get up on top, they will poop all over it, and it's going to be a mess. This, you could just take it off, and you can wash it, and then put it back on, no problem. So that's your brooder plate, and that's your heat, and your shavings, your feeder, your waterer, your brooder. Now, let's set it up. Okay, so let's set it up. This is the brooder. Now we're going to put our shavings in. Remember, you don't want the shavings that are really dusty. And you want the shavings to be deep enough so that they don't, you don't want it to be a really thin layer, because if it's too thin, they'll separate the shavings and their legs will be on the plastic, and that will cause splayed leg. Okay, so we got our shavings. So now we're going to take the bottom and put it in the corner. We'll take our waterer, flip it over. Your water's there. Now there's a reason it's going over here. Get your food. Put it there. You don't want to raise up that one. All right, now you're going to get your heat lamp, if you're using a heat lamp. Now here's what I do. Okay? So because I only want the heat to be here, I don't want it to be like this. So if I clip this to the side and I do this, the heat is going to point over there, and it's going to hit this side wall, and I'm not really going to have as much control over where in the brooder the heat is. So this is what I do. This is just a piece of wire. You put it over the top on this side, away from the food, and you put your heat lamp there, and of course plug it in. If you're finding that it is too hot inside this brooder, this is also what I do. I go to Goodwill or a thrift shop and I get a basket. It'll raise it up. Of course, you'll have to zip tie it to make sure that it stays that way. This one has little lips on it, and if you get it right in there. But make sure it's sturdy, definitely. The plug is knocking it all over. So, and that's how you can raise it up if you need to. But definitely to start out with baby chicks, you need that heat. So you're going to have one side is going to be heated, and then this side is going to have their food and their water and enough space for them to get away from the heat. If you prefer a longer brooder, you can do longer. Depends on how many chicks that you have. And another thing is you don't want this waterer to be underneath your heat, because heat breeds bacteria. That's why hospitals are so cold. So you don't want, you know, when your chicks are in here, they're going to be putting shavings, kicking shavings into the water, and they poop on the shavings, so there's going to be poop in the water. You put it under the heat, it breeds bacteria, and so on. So, okay, so now when you get new baby chicks, if they came from a feed store, or if you ordered them online, I would go ahead and get the electrolytes and the probiotics, the little packets. These packets make up a gallon each, so 1 packet per gallon. This is the probiotic and this is the electrolytes. It's just that getting new chicks, whether they be from the feed store or ordering them online, they can be under a lot of stress with shipping and moving around and whatnot. So that just helps get them back on an even keel. And that is setting up your brooder. I hope that you found this useful. And if you do it like this, you should not have any problems. This is what I keep my chicks inside. So this is fine for me. If you have a cat or a dog, I would make this wire go all the way across, just to make sure they don't get in there. But they won't be jumping out for at least a good two weeks or so. So that's it. That is how to set up a brooder. Good luck with your baby chicks.